Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more juicy content from me. Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about why self-love is survival. Self-love isn't just something nice to have, a buzzword. I've heard people, talk about this self-love movement, the self-love movement, like it's a movement, right? It's not a movement. It's here to stay. And people talk about it in context. They make it sound like selfishness. They make it sound like if you have self-love, it means you don't care about anyone else. But that is not the case. Self-love means that you extend yourself the same compassion that you extend other people, right? How many people love somebody else, other people, your family, your children, your spouse so much, but somehow or the other, you don't extend that same compassion to yourself? Or maybe we shouldn't call it self-love because of the anti-self-love people. Maybe we should call it self-compassion. Now, I'm going to share a bit about myself, which is kind of not my usual forte, but I'm going to use myself as an example. What better way to demonstrate that self-love is not something that we're necessarily born with, but we have to remind ourselves, and we have to sort of coach ourselves into that state. Now, when you have certain counterproductive tendencies, you have to watch out for them. And I'm going to be talking about mine. I have a tendency to fall into what I call the invincibility trap. Let me explain what I mean. I was raised to be stoic. I was raised to be that person, the stiff upper lip, right? You don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. You don't wash your dirty linen in public. So these were the things. This is where I was raised, and there's nothing wrong with being stoic by all means, but things are okay until they're taken to extremes, right? So things like being vulnerable, asking for help, admitting weakness, admitting your flaws, used to be a huge problem for me. I'm going to say they've always been. So these are the counterproductive tendencies I'm talking about, and you have to watch out for them. And what does this have to do with self-love? I'll come to that in a minute. Self-love is what makes you decide that you're going to stop beating yourself over the head with counterproductive tendencies that were based on programming that you had from when you were a little child before you knew any better. My tendency to stoicism has led to things like ignoring early symptoms until I would literally pass out. Yes, I have passed out before just because I was ignoring the signs my own body was telling me that I wasn't feeling well. Things like getting in over my head and then you keep trying to tread water until the problem becomes overwhelming because you're invincible. You don't have any problem. So why is this a problem? And it leads to guilt, shame, and denial, and hiding until you can hide no more. Another thing I used to do is I would see my problems as not worthy of anyone's attention. So I wouldn't want to, if I was going through something, I wouldn't want to talk to anyone about it because I'm like, well, they have problems too. Why should my problems, take center stage in their own life? But on the other hand, I would be that one who would be encouraging people to talk to me and trying to help them solve their problems, etc. But because I saw myself as this invincible person, that's why I said the invincibility trap. That comes from being raised to be a stoic. I would apologize for venting even when I genuinely needed to. Like, oh no, I'm so sorry to bother you with this. I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm sorry to bother you. In fact, a lot of times I actually now have to stop myself from, when I want to ask somebody something, it's almost instinctive. Sorry to bother you. And before I ask, sorry to bother you. Did they tell me I was bothering them? No. So on and on it goes, right? It's like You have to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, self-possessed, self. Everything but self-loving. Because if you are self-loving, you wouldn't put yourself under so much pressure to be something that you're not. You wouldn't put yourself under so much pressure to be a Superman. And you wouldn't put yourself under so much pressure to be perfect. And this is what I was doing. So, you know that saying, check on your strong friends, because you don't know what they're going through. I feel that saying was made for me. I'm that strong friend that will never say what's going on. And until something really drastic happens and it's like, oh my goodness, we didn't know. You should have told us before it got to this point. I'm like, yeah, I know. But because I have these tendencies, I've purposely built certain things into my life to train myself away from these behaviors. So one thing I do is I check in with myself multiple times during the day. And I poke away at areas where I'm feeling any sort of unresourceful emotions like guilt or shame. And I interrogate, like, what's that about? Come on, let's put it out in the open. And when I say out in the open, I mean to myself, not to the world. Number 2, I have a select few people that I trust and I'm vulnerable with. Those ones get the earful from me, and they are happy to hear me and talk to me and talk me down, etc., etc. Small circle, and I'm completely vulnerable with them. Another thing I do, I remind myself to rest. And I make it to a point not to ignore symptoms, because in the past I have ignored symptoms because it's like, well, I'm fine. It's all in my head. I tell myself that, oh, it's all in your head, don't worry. Until I've gotten really, really sick and taken a long time to recover, both physically and mentally. So I remind myself to rest. I remind myself, if you have a twinge here, okay, what is that? It doesn't mean you have to run. I don't run to the doctor for everything, but when it needs running to the doctor, I will. But check in with yourself. If something hurts, it's hurt. There's a reason why it's hurting. Don't just brush it aside. Like, well, forget that. It's all in your head. It's just a small pain. For about 2 years, I suffered with back pain. And it didn't have to go on that long, but part of it was because it was like, I didn't do anything about it, just because, well, I need to get on with it. I need to get on with it. Get on with what? Your health is something to get on with. I've now developed the habit of nipping things in the bud. I say now, like, I don't like denial. Let's face this thing squarely and let's handle it now. That is like kind of my motto now. I don't let things fester anymore. Because like I said, I have these counterproductive tendencies, so I don't let things fester. It's like, okay, this is the problem. We're nipping it in the bud. We're handling it, and we're handling it now. I have chosen a more compassionate route when dealing with myself. So I decided to talk to myself the way I talk to a best friend. I decided to talk to myself the way I would talk to my best buddy, my sister, my spouse, my children, and extend to myself that self-love and that self-compassion that had been lacking in the past. Now I make sure I do it. So when we talk about self-love, segue into self-love, it is this type of thing. Without love for yourself, you will not do this inner work. You will just keep getting on with it because you don't have enough self-compassion to even think, you know what, I am worthy of a soft treatment. I'm worthy of not seeing myself as a hero all the time. Even heroes take their capes off and become regular people. I'm worthy of not feeling like I'm invincible to the point where I have real problems and I'm too scared to talk about them. No, I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of compassion. And some of you need to start telling yourself that. Some of you need to get out of the invincibility trap. Maybe you were made that way because of your parents. Maybe your parents made you have to man up or woman up or whatever. You have to take care of things. So if you're firstborn, like me, you have to take care of everybody, etc., etc. Okay, well, okay. I'm not telling you not to take care of everybody, other people, but you need to take care of yourself too. And speaking of self-love, I have this amazing course, regularly priced at $575. It's now going for $197. There are details in the show notes, the comments, the description, wherever you're listening or watching this. And it is called your Launch Your Happiest Life. It is a self-love course specifically made for physician moms who are physicians, because we as doctors who are moms, we get the brunt of our own self-hate. Can I be real? We get the brunt of our own self-hate, and it shows up in all kinds of ways. Or maybe not self-hate, but lack of self-compassion. We tell ourselves we don't have time to eat right, we don't have time to exercise, we don't have time to rest, but really time is all you have. Time is the only currency you have. So, but with an attitude of self-love and self-compassion, you will take care of the things you need to take care of, mainly you. The things you love, you take care of. So how about you start to learn to love yourself and how to love yourself before you burn out, before you break down. Because learning to love yourself will teach you how to take care of yourself better. And when you take care of yourself better, your whole world gets better, because you can take care of people better. You don't become a better person of any kind. You're not a better doctor or a better mother by self-neglect. Say that again for the people in the back. You're not made a better doctor or a better mother or a better woman, a better wife, a better friend, a better child, a better anything by self-neglect. My self-love course will teach you how not to neglect yourself. So click the link below. Click there, purchase, and let me know what you think. Also, there's a link for you to book a 30-minute session with me. If you want to take advantage of that, you can go ahead. So let's do this. Let's learn to love ourselves. Let's learn to be more compassionate towards ourselves, and we will have a happier life. So that's all from me for now. Please leave comments if you want to ask any questions about the course, and I will see you later.